What is going on, YouTube? So we are chopping up just the last bit of the rear quarter of our buck that we shot the other day, and we are down to that last little prime strip. And as we've been going along, we've been tossing little slivers and scraps into this big bag for some jerky. So basically I'm going to show you guys how I like to put together my jerky marinade and mixture cure that ultimately will soak and sit. We'll toss it in the refrigerator for about 24 hours, and then we'll go ahead and put it on the dehydrator, and I'll take you guys through the process. So let's get into it. Just in case you guys are wondering what type of cuts we're doing as far as thickness, we are slicing into these guys and getting, I would say, about just under 1/4 of an inch in thickness. We're not going for big chunks. We're just slicing them up relatively thin to where you have at least, I would reckon that's somewhere around 1/4 inch, maybe between 1/4 inch and 3/8 of an inch in thickness. So,
whoa, look at this.
All right,
What's that?
time for us to put together our marinade mixture.
What is it?
Yay! Okay, so for our ingredients in our jerky marinade mixture slash cure, we're going to be using some pretty basic stuff here. We have our Worcestershire on the left. Next we have our Great Value teriyaki sauce. Second, we have our liquid smoke. Mesquite flavor. You can do hickory or whatever else you prefer. This is something we're going to try a little different. This is sweet soy sauce. It's a little bit thicker and has a little bit more texture than just your standard soy sauce, and it of course has a sweetness to it. So you can use regular soy sauce instead of this sweet soy sauce, but anywho. Then we get into our seasonings. We have our peppercorn melody, our Himalayan pink salt, our minced onion, Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning, and some garlic powder.
Nuts.
Starting off with our Worcestershire, we're going to do 1/2 cup. This is a full cup and this is a 1/3 cup. We could not find the 1/2 cup, so we're going to go ahead and just go about halfway on this full cup. Okay, so now we have our 1/2 cup of Worcestershire. We're going to go ahead and dump it into the bag of raw. Alright, so we dumped in our 1/2 cup of Worcestershire. Next, we're going to go ahead and do about 1/2 cup of teriyaki sauce. So after our 1/2 cup of Worcestershire sauce, 1/2 cup of teriyaki sauce, now we're going to do about 1/4 cup of liquid smoke. Extra. What's that smell like, Aiden? What's it smell like?
It smells fine. It smells fine.
That's what it smells like? Now we are down to our last liquid, which is our soy sauce. But instead of just traditional soy sauce, we're going to be using this sweet soy sauce that my mother-in-law was nice enough to hook me up with. So let's go ahead and toss about, like I said, this stuff's got some texture to it. It's a little bit thicker than, it's almost like a syrup, a soy sauce syrup. But we'll do about close to 1/2 cup on this, and we'll toss it in the mix. Alright, with us tossing the last little bit of that sweet soy sauce into our mixture bag, now we can go ahead and focus on our seasonings. With there being so much soy sauce and other strong marinade meat marinade sauces, there's plenty of sodium already in this bag, so we do not want to put much salt in here. We're just going to grind up just a pinch. Okay, let's do the pepper. So Daddy likes medium-sized peppercorns, and I need you to hold the bag like that. Can you hold the bag? There you go. Hold it like right there, okay? So we're going to go to town with the pepper. because you can never have too much pepper in my book. We'll go ahead and toss a couple sprinkles of garlic powder. So we have our salt taken care of. We put at least a tablespoon of fresh cracked pepper. We're going to go ahead and toss the rest of the minced onion. We don't want to overpower the jerky flavor with our Tony Chachere's, so we're going to go ahead and just lightly put a little bit in here for some heat. And I am going to keep it simple and just leave it at that. So there you have it. Now we can go ahead and shake it up, making sure that we evenly distribute all those seasonings and all those marinade liquids throughout the meat. It's funny how quickly this marinade tends to get absorbed by the meat. After you've taken up your mixture and you have the marinade and the seasonings distributed throughout the bag and you feel like it's good enough, we'll go ahead and toss this in the refrigerator for the next 24 hours, and tomorrow evening we'll go ahead and pull it out and lay it down on the dehydrator racks and start drying out the meat for our jerky. We're gonna make some jerky! Guys, so we've got our bag of meat after it has been curing and marinating in the refrigerator for the last 24 hours. We'll take our first tray and we'll drop it on top of the dehydrator. And we'll go ahead and start laying out some prime cuts. We're just gonna start taking strips piece by piece. And all we're simply going to do here, folks, is just lay it on top of the tray. We're not going to drop it in big clumps. We're just going to kind of flatten it out. So boom, that is a full tray. In my opinion, I don't want to overcrowd it with too much meat. You still want to allow a little bit of space for the meat to flow, or for the air to flow in between the meat and work its way through the other trays on the dehydrator. So let's continue. And our second tray, got it filled up. A little bit of spacing in between the meat to allow for that air to flow through again. And here's our third tray. Got just one more tray to go and we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 trays filled with some delicious, savory venison. Nice prime cuts of venison from a rear rump. So, are you excited?
Yes.
Yeah, alright. Well, I'm pretty excited too. Now, before we put the top on this, while the jerky is in place and still wet from the marinade, I like to go ahead and take some fresh cracked pepper and a little bit of my favorite seasoning and lightly sprinkle it around this first tray, and then I will take these trays off one by one and set them off to the side until I get down to that last tray at the bottom. Then I'll go ahead and put all the trays back in order to where they are now, and I'll put the cover on top, and we'll go ahead and let this dehydrate for the next 3 to 5 hours. I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle on some fresh cracked pepper. One thing that I do want to mention is, as you're sprinkling on that final touch of seasoning on that layer, each layer, whatever you miss on the top trays will fall down to the lower trays. So you kind of just have to eyeball it and coat the meat to your preference. I, for one, I like a lot of pepper. I love pepper, and I put a very, very, very light sprinkling of this Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning. It's just my preference, but when I'm saying light, I am sitting here just barely tapping it and just barely putting a few sprinkles on each piece of meat, just because this Tony Chachere's is very salty, and I don't want to create an over salty flavor in the jerky. I do love pepper, and I know a lot of other people do. So if you guys are wondering how long I've been making jerky on dehydrators, my mom and I have been making jerky together since I was about 12 years old. So I've been doing this for 18 years. And I think our recipe is It's pretty standard. It's a pretty common recipe for jerky. You know, everybody has their own little spin or their own little touch that they put on it, but I have been making jerky almost every year for the last 18 years, and this is by far the most convenient and easiest and tastiest ways to make jerky. It doesn't matter if it's beef, turkey, venison, or, I mean, I know some people even make like fish jerky, but this is a great recipe, has great flavor, and I guarantee you, you will surprise anybody. Not only will you surprise yourself, but you will also surprise just about anybody that tries it. I make it for friends, coworkers, neighbors, family, and everybody has good things to say about this jerky recipe. Let's go ahead and stack these guys back on. The hot air is pushing through these vent holes up top, and we're good to go. We'll let it set for a good 3 to 5 hours. But boom, we just hit about 3.5 hours on this jerky. Take a look at it. As you can see, it has shriveled up and gotten nice and tight. Still has some wiggle to it though. We're going to need to let it probably dry out for at least another, I'd say, just based on grabbing it, it has just a little too much wiggle. We want to dry it out just a little bit more. So some of these smaller pieces will finish up a little bit faster than some of the larger ones, but still we're going to go ahead and probably give it at least another 30 minutes, and we'll go ahead and call it quits and pull them off and get them bagged up. What I tell you. So the jerky is basically done at this point. It has dried out on the outside, and there is just a little bit of play on the inside. I tell you, it's hard to beat it. Not only that, but there is an aroma throughout the house with this dehydrator going for the last several hours. It has left a very comforting aroma in the air. But if you're doing this at home, go ahead and start bagging it up at this point. I hope you guys enjoyed watching the video. Feel free to comment, like, share, subscribe, whatever it might be. But we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching. See ya.